Hey everyone, Captain here. Wanted to check in with some comments George has been leaving for me. I'm to the point where I'm nicknaming him my ex-girlfriend because he is stalking my comments and trailing after me like an ex-girlfriend that's obsessed. So, Gorgeous George, that's my ex-girlfriend. Not voluntarily on my part, of course. But his obsession knows no bounds, because he loves to make comments to me in Kevin's comments and on his channel. I don't know why, but he absolutely loves it. Actually, I think I have a hypothesis as to why, and I think it has to do with feeling like if it gets too far out of hand, he can run and cry to Kevin, and Kevin can step in and delete a comment or two if they offend his delicate sensibilities too much. And to Kevin, I don't think Kevin will ever sit down and watch one of my videos. I don't know why he would, but apologies in advance for some of the childish things that happen in your comments section. I like to place blame where it deservedly goes, and if it was genuinely me that was causing these arguments and not being an adult about things, I would take that blame. But what really happens is George comes in here and starts making threats, and there have been times where I haven't said anything about him and he's come in and attacked me, starting the fight on his own because he loves this. He wants my attention. He wants all the goons' attention, but lately he's really been after me. I'm sure a lot of it is because he wants me to make videos about him so he can hear my voice. Hear my voice, say his name, and probably do some things that aren't so polite to talk about to his 2-inch dong. Because that's how he rolls. Anyway, let's get into some of these comments. This first one, very innocent. All I said was Jared, free channel, good stuff. And I think most of us would agree that, yeah, that is one of the great things about Kevin's channel is he doesn't put George in the videos. On Mary's show, no George. Vince's show, someone who used to be his friend and who now wants nothing to do with him, no George. Keith Van Allen, a man of very admirable talents, no George. And the things they talk about, George would never fit in because he'd want to drag it down and talk about Punanery or however it was he pronounced it, and Mary Clitmas and all the pathetic comedy that he tries to do. So he wouldn't. Not only would he not fit, but he can't rise to their talent level, plain and simple. But yeah, I said Jared V channel, good stuff. And George's response, needs to be free from trolls like William Royster, which is just pathetic. Next comment, I'm always excited for each new episode. Nice work. And now, again, that is one that's very, very simple. I didn't attack George. I didn't call him out. I didn't say anything about him. Nothing. And that's one of the things he cries about all the time is, I didn't mention you. This had not a goddamn thing to do with you. And he responds with William Royster. William Royster, admit your identity, you fucking troll. William Royster, admit your identity. Your identity. Keep in mind, this is a guy in his 50s who's been attempting to speak English his entire life. This is what he comes up with. Bravo. Bravo. So, moving on to the next comment. We've got, yes, you could say this show is fat-free. And then he said, maybe William Royster needs to come out of the closet and admit his identity. Once again, begging, as he loves to do, for help from me. Because he can't figure out my identity on his own. He is completely unable to do that. And so he's begging me, before he gets to court, to tell him who I am. Which is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. He can't do it on his own, just like everything else. And I know I've gone over this, so I'm not going to talk about that all that long. But that he needs to come and cry to me to help him. Now I'm going to do something here. We always talk about, or George always talks about how no one controls him. No one controls him. They can't get him to do anything. He decides his own fate, all this garbage. But I'm going to do something right now that proves just the opposite, that we make him dance on a string. And that is, I'll give you a little tidbit. First you had Timothy K. Reddy. And I'll be honest, I had never even heard of Timothy K. Reddy before George mentioned it in that video. Never heard the name Timothy K. Reddy. So when he mentioned me 5 years ago, however long ago it was, and said the name Timothy K. Reddy, I was I was stunned. I didn't even realize that he was relating that name to me. I had to watch the video again to understand that that's who he thought I was, because it was just so far off. It was it was kind of shocking. So that was the first name he had for me. Then, a few years ago, he switched from that name to Bill Bellum. And he made that video where he was so smug and just mugging in front of the camera, so happy, just over the moon that he finally had a name for me. But, as we all expect, it was another fail. If you looked up fail in the dictionary, there would be a fat face with a white splotch in its hair underneath the word fail. And now this most recent one, William Royster. Now let me ask a question here. If my name was William Royster, why would I make a fake name of Bill Billiam, the name that he eventually construed as Bill Bellum? Like, if my name is William, why would I have a fake name that was anything remotely close to what my real name was? That makes absolutely no sense. That'd be basically giving him half my name. But I've never heard the name William Royster before until George mentioned it. The last name Royster is goofy as hell, and apologies to anybody out there that might have a name, the last name Royster, but it is kind of a weird name. It's like Rooster, somebody that couldn't spell or pronounce Rooster, and that's who George. I don't know where he got this. Someone told me that it was this Paul and Phyllis thing that he had. I hope you weren't paying them very much, because that was El Falo. You strike out. That's 3 strikes. No one is surprised. And so when I say that I control him, just like every other instance, he's going to scurry away and he'll probably never mention me again. Well, not until he has another dubious name for me, and then he'll find the courage to mention me. But only in a comment. You know, he definitely won't make any videos about me and mention this, that he was wrong. He won't confront this. And that's how I say we control him. Because now I took all the wind out of his sails, and there's nothing he can do. He's going to be despondent, or he'll pretend that it is the right name. But we know the truth. Secretly, he will know it too, and he'll just be doing it to save face. Just like he did with the whole Psychic Brenda thing. He tried to pretend that he didn't fall for Psychic Brenda 2 when he did. He denied that any of that stuff in that message that he sent to her was true. But looking back, we all know it was. Because he did lose his house. And he said in that message something like, I need a windfall of dead presidents just to maintain my sanity. And he was making reference to staving off losing his house. That's what he said to her. So like I said, now that this William Royster has been proven, I just wanted to let him run with this for a little while because he was getting a lot of mileage out of it. And I'm going to prove that he doesn't have the cojones or balls to mention me in videos any longer. Now that he doesn't have this name, he's going to go away. He's going to go bye-bye. Gorgeous George will go bye-bye because he no longer has the name William Royster. And that was why I didn't mention it. That was why I crossed it out, because I just wanted him to run with it a little bit longer, and it's been pretty funny. I controlled him. I let him run with it for a while longer, and I controlled him. And he popped up in the comments, and now he can't do anything. Now I'm putting the kibosh and making him go bye-bye. So that is really beautiful. There is one last comment that I wanted to share, and I saved this one for last because I want to speak a little bit at length on this one too. So here's the next one. And the comment that I made isn't really all that relevant. But it says, I bet you that you wouldn't have the balls to say any of these posts to my face. I'd be Darth Vader making you choke out your words, bitch. Admit your identity, William Royster. William the Troll Royster. Now, what is he saying? I bet that you wouldn't have the balls to say any of these posts to my face. So what do you think? You want me to come up to you and read them to you? Or are you just trying to imply through your poor attempt at written communication that I wouldn't be brave enough to say things similar to what I post here to your face? Now I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that for one simple reason. And that is this. We all saw what is happening here with Mike Saunders. We saw exactly how he acts. This was George's golden opportunity to finally confront a troll. He had been talking about it for years. His favorite, absolute, most lusted after thing to say. The quip he constantly pulls from his tallow-encrusted tome is, "You wouldn't say that to my face." Here, confronted by Mike Saunders, was his chance to show us all what would happen. And what happened? All he did was slink off to hide behind the security guard. He grabbed a can of Lysol. Lysol, of all things. And instead of spraying Mike in the eyes or hitting him over the head with it, he acted like an angry baboon and advanced upon him. And when Mike proved that he wasn't afraid, he just slithered away. Let that be a lesson for everyone. If you ever encounter George in his vicinity, as he would say, he will do nothing. So now, not only will he not make videos, not only will he not mention you if he doesn't know your identity or think he knows your identity, but if you see him in person, you can laugh right in his face. Make jokes about his diabetic shock, as Mike did. And I laugh. Every time I watch that video, I must have seen it 50 times now. I still laugh when Mike says, "Are you having a diabetic shock?" But that's the consequence. All bluster. Just a big bag of fat air. Nothing will happen. There will be no consequence. All tough talk. And it all goes straight to the same place. Into the toilet to get flushed down the commode with the diarrhea that's coming out of his mouth. And I can't say that any of us really expected different, but this is a guy who has for years promised that if he was near any of us, that this would, the consequence would be us winding up in the hospital. But there's Mike, right in front of him, mocking him, and he does nothing. He gets on the phone to call Kristen and hides behind the security guard. So, no matter what you say or how you try and portray yourself, we all know you aren't going to do anything. Nothing will happen. There will be no consequence. And physically, he isn't in any condition to be fighting anybody. His body is in no shape to withstand any damage. And anybody that's been in a fight before, if you're not in good condition, you get winded pretty fast if you haven't been training for it. And this is a guy, look at him, you know he hasn't been training for it. So it wouldn't take much to keep your distance and wear him out, even if you needed to. But not only could he not withstand the energy that it would take for him to try and fight, he couldn't withstand any kind of damage. Now let's look at some pictures of him. It appears to me that he is rapidly becoming a hunchback. As you can see in this picture here, his shoulders are almost as high as his ears. And he's got a big old belly hanging over his belt. It's so, I mean, he almost looks pregnant. He does look pregnant. He looks pregnant. This is not a man that is in any condition to fight anybody. And I don't think that's a good way to resolve disputes. You should handle them with civility and grace. But George has been unwilling to engage any of us in discussion. And instead wants to continue to this phony narrative about meeting us in person. But you look at this picture, those are definitely diabetic socks. So he's got that going on. His back is turning into a hunchback. His shoulders are up by his ears. His belly is pregnant. This is not a man that is in any condition to fight anybody or intimidate anyone. And he knows that. That's why he went and slunk off to hide behind the security guard. And as you can see in this picture, a side profile view, again, shoulder up by his ear, hump on his back, probably from sitting in front of his steering wheel for numerous hours every day as he ferries food to the front door of customers on DoorDash. And here's a few more shots. All of George showing off his hunch on his back. Apparently he has arthritis in one of his legs really badly. So he's not going to be all that mobile. That's probably why he has a golf club in these pictures, because this is when he thought that someone was there. And he talks about how he's a law-abiding citizen, but the first thing he does is grab that can of Lysol to brandish it as a weapon. And in these other pictures, he's got the golf club, the bank's golf club. Again, I'll say it for the upteenth time. This is not a man in any condition to fight anyone. And fighting isn't an answer anyway. But it would go very, very poorly for this guy. So, number one, we saw that he is the first to run away from any kind of conflict. And number two, we see in these shots the big pregnant belly, the hunchback, the diabetic socks. He is not in condition. And if he was, he would have done something when Mike made fun of him and said, "Are you having a diabetic shock?" And wooed at him. But all he could do was call Kristen and hide. Probably ask Kristen to come and help him. Because that's the first thing he does, is turn to Kristen. But all of this is going in one direction. And with the benefit of modern science, we have a projection of how George will soon look as his back continues to hunch over. And that is this. This is George within the next couple of years. A sad state of affairs for a man who was given a free house, given something, I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please, but so I think he said at one point he had been given $500,000 as well. And now he's been reduced to sleeping in a van, has diabetes, is pregnant, works DoorDash, and is a hunchback. A truly sorry state of affairs. So let's recap before I sign off. Number one, I'm not William Royster. I'd never heard that name before until George brought it up. And if I was going to make a fake name, I wouldn't make a fake name with my own first name. Meaning, if my name was really William, I wouldn't call myself Bill, because that's essentially giving you my first name for free. Number two, no one is afraid to say anything to George's face. Mike Saunders proved that. Confronted George. George was right there. Mike was right there. And nothing happened. George cried to the security to get him taken away, rather than assault him as he has so often said he would do. He did nothing. Number three, George will quit mentioning me because I control him. And I took away the power of knowing my identity because he thought I was William Royster. So he will never mention me in a video. And he probably won't comment to me ever again. If he does do anything, it will be only commenting in Kevin's channel. But I don't even think he'll do that. He definitely won't make a video because we control him. And I took that away. He's controlled. He has been controlled and prohibited from doing anything. I think, what number are we on? Number 4. He's turning into a hunchback. He's pregnant. And he's got diabetes. And he's going to eat some oatmeal. Anyway, I've rambled on way too long. This is the Captain, signing off.